Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear humanity, I've come and today I've got to give this information to World Health Organization as well as to individuals, general practitioners, and any medical institution on this planet. What we are going to look at, the hidden dangers of alcohol and the hidden dangers of alcohol and the most serious danger that alcohol poses to human bodies is the situation whereby human bodies kind of mutate. Their human bodies, red and white blood cells, mutate and form what we call cancer tumors. Most of the cancer tumors that occur in human beings, in one way or the other, they have a relationship, they have a connection with the consumption of alcohol with that individual in whom cancer, whatever, has occurred. But the information I'm going to give World Health Organization, the Chinese government, the NHS, and every individual as individuals like you and I and anybody else, that alcohol is a healthy hazard. Alcohol is a healthy hazard. I'll repeat that. Alcohol is a health hazard to a human body. Alcohol has, when a person consumes alcohol, when alcohol enters a human body and it attacks, the first thing when alcohol enters a human body, it attacks and disables or kills the electrical spasm in a red and white blood cell of a human body. In every red and white blood cell, there is what we call electrical spasms. These electrical spasms in red and white blood cells are very, very important in all living human beings. Why? It's the red and white blood cell that manages the growth of the growth of any changes in the human body, temperature and what have you. Anything that happens to a human body, red and white blood cells are the major whatever contribute. Their major functions is to either build muscles and anything, any function, anything that any health, whatever that takes place in a human body, is usually rotates with the mechanisms and the frequency rotation cycles of a red and white blood cell. That's why that if a human being consumes alcohol, as soon as alcohol enters that human's body, the toxins in alcohol, alcohol elements in toxin elements of alcohol, when they enter the human body, they will attack and disable the electrical spasms in either a red blood cell or a white blood cell. Once the red and white blood cell electrospasms are disabled, that means they cannot do any function. They are disabled. So they cannot carry any information either to the brain neurons, because the electrical spasm in the red and white blood cell is what the brain neurons uses to calculate, to assess, to know that this part of the human body needs this amount of oxygen, needs this amount of electricity, needs this amount of whatever to build the muscles, so that a person either can grow or can become well, or these things like that. So once the red and white blood cell electrical spasms are disabled or killed, the brain neurons it goes into a phase which is called partial paralysis. Medically, you would say it is partial paralysis. But because the fact that every red and white blood cell electrical spasm has been killed or disabled, that means the entire body is in a half dead state. We say medically, medical whatever would say the brain is in a partial paralysis. But medically, it's a partial, a half dead state, whereby that in the state that the brain is in a phase where it is in partial paralysis, the brain neurons are in a state of partial paralysis, that individual, that very person who is under that influence of alcohol, whereby that she has consumed alcohol, and after consuming alcohol, or after entering alcohol entering her body, it has disabled or killed every electrical spasm in her body. That individual cannot articulate reasoning accountability, either to recognize themselves. To recognize themselves. When we say to recognize themselves, she cannot articulate reason to be able to, if she was asked a question, she won't be able to reply with a meaningful kind of a meaningful statement or reply to any question asked to that person. And if she stood up, she wouldn't be able to stand firmly without staggering. So that means the brain is totally out of action. The brain neurons are out of action. So she has no any reasoning accountability, whereby that very moment that woman cannot recognize herself. That's why she cannot stand properly, or she cannot even articulate a reason to tell. If she is asked a question, she won't be able to give something that is meaningful to the question she has been asked. With that, once the brain neurons are in that state, that the brain neurons is in a partial paralysis, that means all the entire body organs, all the entire inner body organs, the heart, the lungs, the kidney, the whatever you name it in the body, that those organs, their rotational sequencing cycles is also put out of action. So every organ in a human body is out of its original natural balanced sequencing rotation cycles. So the heart cannot send message to the brain, or the brain cannot receive either any message from the heart, and the heart cannot receive any message from the brain. So even blood, whatever the blood, the rotation or sequencing, whatever over the heart, is kind of becomes unstable because it's out of action, because the brain cannot, the brain neurons cannot communicate with the heart. So that means that person can easily go under what we call a cardiac arrest. A cardiac arrest, or any part of her organ within her body has, because we've seen that any part of the human body is out of action once the brain neurons are starved of, or once the brain neurons goes into partial paralysis. So every other organ is out of action. It cannot work. It cannot do any frequency. It cannot do any rotation, or it cannot do anything. That means that person, the entire system has collapsed, and as a result, the alcohol kind of takes over the whatever. But what I'm trying to show you is that when a person in that state of whereby every organ in her body, including the electrical spasm in red and white blood cell has been disabled, every organ sequencing rotational cycles has been disabled or killed, that person can easily within that be whatever enter a phase whereby when the red and white blood cells try to resuscitate or to recover their whatever through that process, that to make whatever, a red and white blood cell can easily mutate and form into a cancer cell or a cancer cell which becomes into formations into of cancer tumors. Because what happens is that once the electrical spasm in the red and white blood cell is dead, the red and white blood cell has no direction. It has no whatever structure. It has no heart. It has no whatever to be able to balance that. If I take this action, am I okay? Am I doing the right position? Am I in the right position? What it means, it is that once the electrospasm in the red and white blood cell is killed or disabled, the red and white blood cell, kind of, how would you call it? It has what we call like the brain of a human being. It loses that ability to be able to work out whether it makes up a proper decision. Like the person the individual who is drunk, she doesn't know. If she's asked a question, she cannot express herself in a meaningful way. And with that, she can't stand properly on two legs. The same applies, that kind of whatever, applies to the red and white blood cells. They cannot know whether they are trying to resuscitate themselves. When in the process of trying to resuscitate the electric spasm, they make a mistake. That causes the resuscitation to cause the red and white blood cell electrospasm to cause the red cell or white blood cell to mutate and form into a cancer cell, and then which becomes develops and the whatever becomes into cancer tumors. With that, I say to you, so-called institutions, healthy institutions, let's say the World Health Organization, should take the lead to pronounce and demand all countries on this planet and all healthy institutions that alcohol should be banned and removed from supermarket shelves, because it's one of the deadliest health hazard that is available on supermarket shelves. Even in restaurants, when you go to have a meal, they'll tell you, would you like to have a wine or white wine or red wine? I'll come to that later. But what I'm trying to show you is that alcohol is one of the deadliest intoxicant, deadliest drug, freely available to human beings, either in a supermarket when you go to buy that. As if you went to buy water, you can easily pick up a ton of alcohol if you have how to carry it to your house. So that whatever should be put, the order should be put. Our World Health Organization should pronounce this deadly drug, of which is called alcohol, that every institution, every government on this planet should consider and put it in record to its citizens that alcohol is one of the deadliest hazard that is freely available to human beings. With that, alcohol is also the deadliest fuel through which disease can move from one human to the other at a speed that no man can catch up with. Because in modern times, in your so-called developed whatever you say, that you've developed a rocket. But the speed at which alcohol spreads disease from human to human, you say you put that speed that it would look like it will make a rocket speed look like a 90-year-old man who takes 3 minutes to move one leg while he's walking with a stick. It takes him 3 minutes to move one leg, and then he waits another 3 minutes and move another leg. That's how deadly that alcohol as a fuel in spreading disease from human to human it is. That's how it can be. With that, it would be advisable to health institutions here in England, the NHS, to put a ban and to pronounce alcohol as a health hazard to every member of the United Kingdom society. Because in the United Kingdom, with the NHS, with the other health organization, I'll show you something else that alcohol does to the human body. The alcohol toxic gunk element toxins, once they enter a woman's body, the entire alcohol toxin gunk elements toxins, they will pile themselves up in the ovaries of a woman. With that, the entire ovaries of a woman will be clogged, and with that, the alcohol toxic gunk toxin elements, they will make a lining in the ovaries, a toxic gunk lining in the ovaries, whereby if a woman who consumes alcohol becomes pregnant, while the lining of the ovaries is a mucus of toxic alcohol toxin gunk of toxin elements, that egg which has been fertilized by in the womb of that woman who has a line, who has her body, her line ovaries has kind of been covered in a mucus of toxic or whatever elements of alcohol, the child will have a genetic disorder or the genetic alteration, as well as having a medical disorder. Here in UK, in England, the NHS, as well as any other institutions in Europe and as well as in America, they are very aware that many cases of babies are born with medical disorders, very serious medical disorders, very, very serious medical disorders, whereby the children cannot live a normal life under any circumstances because they are medically disabled because of the genetic alteration and the genetic damage and the whatever damage, the medical damage that alcohol toxic gunk toxin elements have put on the baby, the child who is born, as well as in the entire woman's body, because alcohol alters the original birth genetic structures of a woman, of any man, anybody for that matter. With that, there's so many new cases on planet Earth today, including cancer, medical disorders, which are very complicated to kind of illustrate in medical, to explain how they do. But for me, I'll give you a reason why you should, if you want a society to kind of recover itself from the destructive whatever of alcohol, you've got to put a ban, a health worldwide ban on alcohol being able to be found on supermarkets shelves as a commodity that that has made this planet, the human life on this planet, very, very unhealthy. In present time today, human beings have what you call, and let's look at, before we go any further, let's look at mental health, social whatever people in their societies. If you look at domestic crime and crime in general, you find that 90% of cases of crime are either somehow connected to alcohol misuse or alcohol abuse. That is when we got into social whatever and look at crime, how crime occurs in our societies. 90% of crime that are recorded by police and what have you, those individuals have to have a kind of a connection to either misuse or abuse of this drug, alcohol. When you look at any medical, let's look at cases of rape in women. Most of the cases of rape that occur in women, in one way or the other, there have to be alcohol involved in those cases. There have to be an element of alcohol or a connection of alcohol with either the rapist or the one who has been raped. So with that, alcohol is one of the deadliest deadliest intoxicant, deadliest drug that is freely available to any human being at any given time from a supermarket shelf. Yet it's one of the deadliest whatever hazards that mankind can easily have access to. And the other thing about alcohol is that a human body does not know how to remove alcohol, toxin, whatever from the human body. Once someone consumes alcohol, the entire elements and whatever just circulates in every part of the body because the body doesn't have the mechanism, doesn't have the mechanism, doesn't know how to remove alcohol from its body, from the human body. With that, once alcohol circulates in every muscle tissue, it will stop any regeneration of muscles of an individual. And in the most very deadliest way, alcohol has what we call a deadly effect on every muscle tissue, on every muscle tissue of a human body. The format which is it's a decaying, rotting, boiling format that alcohol, toxin, or whatever puts on the muscle tissues in a human body. With that, a human body will automatically there will be no regeneration because every tissue in her body is circulated with alcohol. With that, the alcohol triggers off what we call a decaying, rotting, boiling format, which causes the pain and it causes slow death of every tissue, and even including red and white blood cells, whereby in that state whereby there is a format of alcohol that is being put on human muscle tissues, the red and white blood cell in the human body can easily mutate and become a cancer cell, which in the end turns out to form into cancer tumors. With that, the cost of treating cancer, the cost of fighting crime generated by alcohol misuse or abuse is way too high. And with the fact that alcohol does cause genetic alteration in human bodies, whereby today you have diseases which have become hereditary. Diseases are occurring in human bodies. But generally, those diseases are fueled by or are brought on by because such individuals have been consuming alcohol. So with that, I pray and ask government and the World Health Organization to put a ban, to announce it officially that alcohol is a health hazard to any society on this planet. Alcohol is a health hazard to any society, to any individual on this planet. That's all I can say today. Maybe I'll come again and show you that exactly alcohol is one of the deadliest fuels, as we said, that fuels either cancer, whatever formations in human beings, or crime in human beings, and so many genetic, whatever, medical disorders in newborn children. In England today, you have cases of cancer in young men and girls. Going as little as 2 years old, a child that 2 years, cancer occur in their bodies. It's because of alcohol misuse. As I showed you, that once a woman conceives and her ovaries have been kind of made to whatever with the lining of alcohol, toxic, gunk, toxin elements, toxins. That egg, once it is on such a mucus in the ovaries, definitely the child that will have some medical disorder, either mild or severe, depends. But you don't need either a severe or mild medical disorder in a newborn child. You need a lovely baby, healthy toddler or little baby who is healthy. So with that, I beg and I pray that the NHS here in England and the World Health Organization, as well as medical institutions around the world, and the Chinese government institutions of health, medical whatever institution, listens and understand, take a leaf from what I'm telling you. Any competent doctor, any competent practitioner who listen to this, they will tell you that alcohol can easily cause the human body, because there are doctors who treat cases of alcohol, whatever, every other day. Men who are hooked on alcohol, but they are in pain, great pain, when the temperature changes, because their whole entire body is circulated with alcohol, toxin, whatever, every muscle tissue. Then when the temperature changes, you feel different pain, and so on and so on. So my advice, either for governments or individuals, as individuals, young men and women, to avoid making your bodies pain towards when you reach the whatever. Avoid putting alcohol in your body, because every unit of alcohol that goes in your body does not come out. The toxic whatever does not come out, because your body does not have any mechanism and does not know how to remove alcohol, toxic gunk, toxin elements of alcohol from your body. With that, I pray that you understand, every one of you out there, you as individuals, you are responsible for your health, not the GP or whatever. Do not consume alcohol. And with that, before I close down, alcohol has been forbidden by a divine holy law. That law was laid down by Allah, the most holy, glorified, Almighty Allah, who created human beings. Because Allah said, do not put alcohol in your body. Do not consume alcohol. Why? Allah said it as a divine holy prescription, which some medical people say prevention is better than a cure. With that, Allah said, with the holy law, do not consume alcohol. And that's a prescription, which a divine holy prescription. Do not put alcohol in your bodies. You are human beings. You are prohibited. You are told, do not put alcohol in your bodies, because your bodies does not have the mechanisms and does not know how to remove alcohol. And with that, that is a prevention is better than cure. Holy divine prescription. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Maybe if you typically from what I've said, you might save yourself one day of being either thrown into an intensive care unit while your heart is out of whatever. So do not put alcohol in your body. Look after yourself. You are responsible for your health. not a surgeon, an ICU surgeon who splits your chest open. His responsibility is to give you a temporary procedure whereby he puts your heart a little bit in a temporary whatever. The rest, you suffer the pain and whatever. So, wise up, look after your health. Alcohol is a health hazard. Thank you.